Hi, my name is Hoda. I am 18 years old and I am about to start my first year of college at Seattle Pacific University. Today I'm going to share with you my journey of how I hated the world to how I actually wanted to live in it. Growing up, I questioned pretty much everything. My dad calls it nosy, but I called it curious. My parents did a good job of teaching us the importance of mixed gender roles in the home. For example, my mom was not the only person who cooked food in the house. In fact, when my parents first got married, my mom did not even know how to cook, and my dad was the one who taught her how. Sorry, Mom. My mom sometimes worked later than my dad did and came home later than her. For these reasons, I didn't grow up with the average mentality of men needing to go to work and women needing to be housewives. I learned the importance of independence and working for yourself and not other people. I also learned that society's rules aren't necessarily correct. It wasn't until much later in life that I learned about gender roles and what that truly means in society, and I was actually confused and thought that the entire idea was quite ridiculous. I loved the idea of independence because the only person I had to rely on was myself. It was awesome, but there was one con to this. I became so to myself that everything that happened, I thought I could deal with it. This is when I started to hate the world. I felt like everything suddenly went black and white, and I tried everything I knew to bring color back, and nothing worked. I tried to carry the burden of the world on my shoulders, and this is simply impossible. The world is nowhere near perfect, and as a 12-year-old, and even as an 18-year-old now, that is not in my control. But when I tried to fix things, it only seemed to make them worse. About halfway through sixth grade began my 3 year journey of sexual abuse. The truth was, I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't even know what this person was doing to me. All I know is that it didn't feel right and that I was scared for my life. I thought back as I started 8th grade and I began to understand a little more. But this was a situation I had no control over, and this was something I physically could not understand. In my family, emotions was something that were never really discussed. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy that my parents indirectly addressed feminism growing up, especially in an Arab household, but I really wish they also talked to me about how to manage my emotions. With everything going on in my 12-year-old brain, I had no idea what to do or how to cope with anything, so self harm became my escape. There was just something about hurting myself and being in control of physical pain that gave me a high. I also developed an eating disorder in middle school that followed me into high school. By the time high school rolled around and I had processed some of what happened, I became so angry. Nothing had made sense. I felt like the world labeled me as a horrible, disgusting, mentally ill, revolting person. So I hid that part of myself that made me see the world in black and white. The only coping mechanisms I knew at this point were how to starve myself, how to make myself throw up, and how to hurt myself. This is how I coped with how the world treated me. I treated myself poorly because the world treated me poorly. The first time I ever told anyone about what happened to me in middle school was my mom. It was my second year of high school. The person who did this to me was a very close person to her, and she herself was having a hard time processing what I had told her. I feel like she was in denial. Ultimately, she said that if I ever told anyone about this, she'll never forgive me. Here's the thing. My mom is human. She was scared for me. Hearing this is every mother's worst nightmare, but she thought she was protecting me by telling me this. I didn't understand that now. I didn't understand that then, but I do now. Should my mom have said this to me? No, absolutely not. It made me feel even more stepped on and beat up, more than I already was. I saw the world in even more black and white. I felt more societal labels being attached to me. There was something about her reaction that made me feel that I was somehow in the wrong. I have a lot of stories about my mom. We didn't always get along growing up. I thought it was like the usual mother-daughter relationship taken a little to the extreme. But from a non-family perspective, from a non-daughter perspective, my mom is the hardest working person you'll ever meet. You ask her for anything and she will get it done 100% all the way and more. I have a little sister, and I remember when she had her, she went straight back to work. She was like, maternity leave, what's that? I don't need that. But hey, my sister turned out pretty okay, so I think it worked out. But my sister does, but it worked out. My story takes a turn during my junior year of high school when the police finds out about what happened to me and question me. My mom finds out, then my dad finds out, then it all kind of goes downhill from there. And one thing led to another, and things really started to turn around my senior year when I started looking into my future and I started looking into college. Thinking about college and my future was my ultimate distraction. I was able to write out my goals and my dreams and actually begin to live them, begin to actually think about a career and what I wanted to do with my life. The point I'm trying to make is I hated this world so much that I tried to kill myself twice. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to feel anything. No hurt, no pain, no anger, no sadness, no love, no happiness, no excitement, nothing. I wanted to feel nothing. I overdosed twice. I was in the psych ward being monitored 24/7. I hurt myself and bled until I no longer felt anything. I ate and ate until the whole inside of me was full and then threw it up because I love that feeling of emptiness. I hated this world so much that I forgot what I was going to leave behind. My older brother, my younger sister, my cousins, an incredible future, going to college, a career, my passions, nature. I was willing to lose all of that because someone used my body for pleasure. I know that there will be ups and downs and rights and lefts and horizontals and whatnots, but that's what life is. You can't have successes without hardships. You can't have happiness without sadness. But most importantly, you can't be independent without realizing the values of others around you. In order to see the color, you need to be able to see and acknowledge and understand the black and white and learn how to cope with it. And that is what I learned in treatment. Thank you. My name is Hoda, and my story is my superpower.